Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron channel. I'm Steve Shaw. Let me know if you can hear me. Just popped on live. Robert is not here. Robert committed to join me today, but then forgot he had an appointment, so I'm banishing him from the world forever. Period. End of story. Can you guys hear me? Give me a shout out. Let me know if everything's okay. Video, audio. I will be on as long as you guys have questions. So feel free to ask any questions. Diet training, nutrition, supplementation, off topic, vents, rants, thoughts on the new Batman, whatever it happens to be. I am waiting for YouTube to catch up. How's everybody doing? Gyms are starting to open up in Ohio. They will be open, on the 26th, 20, something like that. So gyms will be opening soon. So we're pretty excited about that. I got my gym all set up in here, ready to go. And my finger, this one right here, I don't know if you can see it. There we go. Tore that sucker up, but we're ready to get a workout in. Finally, what's going on, would you list? Glad you guys can hear me. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm running this from my desktop with a new setup. And it's been an experiment. Curious what you guys have to think about the new Batman that doesn't want to work out. That caused a lot of conversations. Let me know where you guys are from as well. Just want to let you guys know I am really pushing the phone consultation service. If you are interested, you can head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. The phone consults are a really good way to just talk, iron out what your situation is, what your goals are, get you some direction, maybe get you some kick in the ass, and you don't have to invest in coaching. So if you're interested, head over to superlivingtoday.com. We can set up a time to do a phone consult, and those pretty much last as long as you need to keep me on the phone. So I comb through everything that is going on with you. Anakat was early in with the hello. KO Surge, what's up, Steve? Everything A-okay. Everything is good here. Got a new hat. Doesn't stink. And we're looking at rain here in Ohio for like the next, week. So I'm going to try to fit in running somehow, some way. I'm probably going to continue to do the live videos throughout on Fridays at the same time until the lockdown ends for most of us, and then maybe change it. Some people are asking why I do a live during the day at 11 on a Friday. I have a lot of clients that are overseas in the UK, Australia. I have clients in Saudi Arabia, you name it. So this is kind of the best of both worlds right now. Let's see, KO Search says my gym just opened up on the 10th. I still prefer working out at home with my adjustable dumbbells and adjustable bench. If you are rolling with the home gym, keep going with it. We added some new equipment in here, a back extension, which I can do reverse hypers on. Right over to my right, you can't see it. I got a leg extension, leg curl station. So what I'm basically doing is I basically added some stuff to help me work out my legs, leg curls, leg extensions, reverse hypers. I got a full new squat rack in there. I got some other things set up. I got a cable pulley system. So now I've expanded my options, exercise options enough that I won't go crazy at home. Woodulus says gym's not expected to open in Scotland until autumn. That is depressing. I have a gym that we trained at in Scotland. I believe it was Black Wolf or Wolf something. I messaged them this week to see how they were doing. They are near Ullapool. So what's going on, Herman? Herman is from Chico, California, tuning in early. You guys have any questions, comments, anything, post them on up. Robert might be joining me here shortly if he gets out of his eye exam. But until then, we're just going to roll. I don't care if you guys got off-topic comments, just want to shoot the shit or whatever. Let's see, Woodulus. Superhero equals super snowflake. I mean, look, if you have one job, and that is to, get paid like whatever he's getting paid, $10 million to be Batman. Um, the thing that bothered me the most is like he's basically like during this time, which is the lockdown time, not working out, whatever. I mean, people need to work out more. If anything, this whole lockdown, this whole COVID-19 thing should be a wake up call for us for health, for general health. And if anything, he should be using his platform, if anything, to try to motivate people to go work out because of what's going on. But all he had to do was say nothing on social media. But to get on social media and basically say I'm not working out, why? I mean, really, why? What are we trying to do here? PEDs aside, you got to be in shape. Batman worked out, so I don't know. I just don't like it. Bill Leach, I think the new Batman should be fired and replaced with someone who actually wants the role, not just the money. That's kind of the problem with Hollywood in general. Sometimes these guys don't think, and they don't really they run their mouths before thinking about the ramifications. I don't know about you guys, but I like my superheroes to be super, right? They don't have to look like steroid monsters, right? And a lot of them don't. But even like Captain America, Hugh Jackman, at least they look physically fit, right? Herman, the weak Batman video was 100% spot on. Thank you, Herman. I appreciate it. All right, we got guitar, jams, and beyond. The sound of video is great with a new setup from Queens, New York. Hope you're doing okay in Queens, and I hope you guys are able to open some things up soon. We got 33 people in the fire right now. Robert might be joining me soon, so if you have any supplement questions, you can wait for Robert to jump on with those. I'll be here as long as you guys have questions, so post up all the questions you want. David Potter says, my gym opens today in Arizona. I'm doing home workouts in quarantine, but nothing that compares to lifting heavy at the gym. Should I just jump right in or ease back into my routine? That's a good question, and one I need to get off my butt on and make a video. Somebody asked me yesterday, when it comes to going back to your workout, you need to make sure you take about at least 3 weeks to ease back into things. That's not something a lot of you guys want to hear, but it's the truth. Don't go back to your old weight. That's a good way to get injured. You got to realize your body is softer, weaker a little bit. The first weekend, use a very, very moderate weight just to get the feel for things. You're just getting the feel for the movement patterns. You're getting your body broken in a little bit. You don't want to overdo it and get sore and risk injury. The second week, add a little bit more weight. Not full speed by any stretch of the imagination. We're trying to kind of ease into things without creating an incredible amount of soreness. Third week, that's kind of a feeler week. You've been in the gym for a couple weeks. Don't go full speed yet, but get those weights up there so they're challenging, but not quite at the level previously. Say you were benching 225 by 10 before all this hit. Third week, you might be just testing yourself with 205 just to see how things are going. I think Robert is here. I'm going to add Robert into the mix, so hold on a second. Hey, Robert, can you hear me?
I can. Sorry about being delayed. I hate tardiness is one of my biggest pet peeves when people don't do it, so I apologize. It was kind of out of my hands with the douchebag doctor that didn't show up for 30 minutes, so
well, for those tuning in late, Robert, prostitution just reopened in Texas, and Robert does inspections of cat houses.
Supporting the working girls of society.
Yeah, that's what he does part-time. So he was doing some necessary work for the state of Texas. Actually, Robert, what were you doing? Getting your eyes checked out?
Yeah, it had been 2.5 years since I had a prescription update, and I needed more contacts. And they said, well, if you want us to give you more contacts, you need to come in and get your eyes checked. So they did that. They didn't do any dilation on my pupils or anything, but I've had glasses since I was 7 years old, and so I got contacts when I was in 7th grade, and and so on and so forth. I just haven't decided if I want to get LASIK yet or not.
Right. All right. So, guys, post up your questions. They don't have to be supplements. Robert is very well versed in training. Me and Robert had actually recorded an hour-long video on hypertrophy. It was probably one of the better videos you would have ever seen on hypertrophy on the internet, but Skype somehow didn't save it, so we got screwed. So, training, diet, nutrition, supplementation. Curious, I'm just going to say this, Robert. People ask me all the time in my transformation where my glasses went. I wore glasses for like forever. And then one day they broke and I started walking around without them, realizing my vision's not that bad. It was like 20/40 in one eye and I don't know, 20/80 in the other. And I don't notice anything without glasses. So I just stopped wearing them.
Weird.
So Robert, I just have to say before we dive into questions, last time we briefly spoke on the shutdowns of playground equipment.
Yeah.
And I basically said off the cuff that I found it silly that we were shutting down playground equipment when kids were very, very low risk, extremely low risk.
Yep.
But golf courses were open and I could see the guys driving around in gaggles of golfers. It just didn't make sense, but somebody sent me a scathing email basically saying we were role models and we were letting the world down. I mean, it was the rant. It was the mother of all rants.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I was the devil. You were the devil's compadre, so I'm just letting you know. Because we want kids to be able to play at the playground and have their parents use judgment, we are El Diablo. So
right, and never mind that there's more and more data coming out showing a link between vitamin D deficiencies and increased severe reactions to COVID symptoms, upper respiratory infections, and other kind of viruses that attack the body in general. So yeah, let's keep everybody locked up, quarantined, not getting outside, exercising, especially those populations that have the least risk of anything.
Right.
We should be encouraging people to get outside and exercise, not even while wearing a mask, because that's going to impair your breathing and your ability to perform. I think that's stupid. And the Austin mayor continues to beat the drum that even if you're 16 feet apart from people, you should be wearing a mask outside. That's fucking retarded. Makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, those that are unfamiliar with me, I'm a statistics guy. I cut my teeth on statistics. And I was looking at the likelihood that anyone between the age of 5 and 14 that had no pre-existing conditions would die from COVID. And the number was actually 1 in 214 million. So I'm just going to let that float out there. People can interpret that however they want. All right, let's dive into the questions. Faizan, all gyms in New Zealand are open. Well, I think we're moving to New Zealand. It's beautiful. Gyms are open. What more could you want?
It's where they filmed Lord of the Rings, too. I mean, why
right.
not?
I stopped over in their airport last year and fell in love with what I could see of the country, so I wish I had some time. Let's see, we have eliminated community transmission, so I'm so grateful. I'm wondering if there's any travel restrictions there like Australia, because Australia is as tight as a drum right now. Guitar jams. I would respect Robert Pattinson if he didn't put others down for lifting and if he worked out, but did not take performing enhancements. Yeah, you don't have to take PEDs. I mean, Wolverine and Hugh Jackman and whoever plays Chris Evans, they don't exactly look like they're on steroids. They might have taken something, but you saw the whole Robert Pattinson thing, Robert, where he doesn't want to work out.
Unfortunately, so. I mean, I never really had much respect for the guy, especially when they made vampires into daywalkers that sparkled in sunshine and all that bullshit. I mean, yeah, that's complete absurdity. I've never thought much of the guy as an actor, or just that whole his jump to fame with Twilight and all that nonsense. And then that was just kind of icing on the cake when he's saying, "I don't feel people should exercise every day. We should discredit this lifestyle." I'm thinking, just stay in your fucking lane, pal.
Batman worked out. I mean, Batman worked out. Whatever people like to say, it's like, I have. If you want to create a new superhero that doesn't work out, that's good and well. We have plenty of them, I believe. Yeah, I don't think the Fantastic Four, what is it, the Invisible Woman or Sue Storm? I don't think she crushes iron. But anyway, one thing I hate is that we're reinventing everything. Like, why do we have to reinvent everything? Why can't we create new things? We don't need a 450-pound morbidly obese Spider-Man. Let's not reinvent things. All
That's
right.
what Sandy and I. It's one of our biggest gripes is why do they keep rehashing the same movies or the same superhero stories? I mean, we're on our fifth Batman now or sixth Batman reincarnation.
Right. I mean, seriously, if you're going to make a 450-pound superhero, I'm going to watch the movie because I like superhero movies. Just don't make it Spider-Man. All right. Annabelle Dickerson. How is this any different from Thor on the Avengers Endgame?
Is that when he's talking about when Thor's fat and out of shape and everything? I think that was. I believe I had read something that was the producers or the directors' view of trying to champion the body positivity movement, showing that a superhero doesn't have to be super shredded and muscular, but that's keep your political views out of Marvel movies is what I say.
Well, Thor didn't. I mean, Thor still worked out. I mean, he did not work out. I mean, if you saw his recent movie on Netflix, his new movie on Netflix, where there's like 1 million people body count, these guys take care of themselves. So.
Yeah, they do.
Let's see. Herman. Like KO Surge, I've been making it work with light adjustable bench and spin lock dumbbells. More equipment in shipping, finally. Glad to hear it. Robert, how's your workouts been going with the current situation?
Really well. I mean, I've been slowly building a home gym since I got into fitness seriously back in 2010. So we added recently we added a suspension trainer, a really cheap one for people looking for a really good quality one that's really versatile. Go check out the Nosk 17 one. I don't make any commissions on this. A guy that I had on the podcast turned me on to it. It's NOSSK. It's their Nosk 17 one. It's just like a really big climbing rope with 2 really good handles on it. We attach it to, here, I'll flip this around. We attach it to that tree over there, and we do, you can do chest flies, push-ups, rows, dips, everything. And then this piece of equipment right there is the latest addition to the backyard. We actually found that in front of a neighbor's yard that they were going to just toss it out.
Nice find.
And it's a perfectly good dip station, Roman chair station, pull-up bar, and everything. So, yeah, and our 2.5-year-old uses that as a jungle gym, so she's got outdoor play equipment, even if the parks are taped off. So, but yeah, I've got other dip bars inside a doorway chin-up bar, power blocks that go from 10 pounds up to 90 pounds each, 4 through 12-pound medicine balls, a trap bar. It's just stuff I've slowly added over the years, and so when they closed gyms, it didn't affect me that much. I mean, I enjoy training at a gym, but I've always enjoyed training at home more, unless I'm training with somebody that can really push me past where I am at, so like somebody with you.
Right. So, guys, before we dive in, again, we're going to be here as long as you want. Robert is the supplement engineer. We can talk about supplements. We can talk about training. Nothing is off topic. Post up your questions. Don't feel shy. Diet, training, nutrition, supplementation. You can find Robert, the supplement engineer, on Instagram, on YouTube. He has a great podcast, The Supplement Engineer. We'll be pitching that a little bit later as well. All right. If you have some really interesting supplement questions, feel free to post those up. As long as they aren't, does creatine cause baldness? All right, Mike R. What's the best sup to take without going broke?
Creatine.
And it does not cause baldness. Nope. Yeah, absolutely. The answer to 90% of questions are creatine and maybe caffeine.
I was going to say, do we classify coffee as a supplement? Because, I mean, that's one of the cheapest sources of caffeine right there.
I mean, creatine, beyond that, when people ask me about supplements, Robert, and I'm curious what you think, I go to the basics, things that are common deficiencies, B12, vitamin D. Robert's got me on K2. I take a probiotic, that sort of thing. So, beyond creatine, what is worth it for people that are not trying to go broke? What's a priority chain?
I guess are we talking from like a performance standpoint, or are we talking from a cognitive health standpoint, or just overall health? I mean,
let's assume, you got a muscle head who's not just after all muscle. They want to build muscle. They want to build strength. They want overall health. I guess an interesting question is, if you're that guy, are you better off investing your supplement dollar in muscle building supplements, or are you better off doing a base of possible dietary deficiencies?
Right. But I think if you're somebody that's serious about training, you probably already eat a well-rounded diet that's going to be providing sufficient amounts of most of the essential vitamins. So I'll position it from you've got your diet and sleep already in order. So after creatine, I like betaine. It's a complementary ingredient to creatine that it enhances endogenous creatine production via its methylation of homocysteine. It also enhances cell hydration by acting as an osmolyte like creatine does as well. It's been shown to improve body composition, lean mass changes, power, strength output in resistance trained males. There's a recent meta that came out I think in females showing it has modest fat loss benefits too, which that's probably as a result of helping retain lean mass as opposed to a pure, fat burning effect in the body. I like that. Caffeine, that goes without saying. Other performance enhancements, citrulline or citrulline malate can help you get a couple of extra reps by delaying the onset of fatigue. There's a few other designer ones out there, but they don't really have the body of evidence that citrulline or citrulline malate and betaine creatine have. There's a couple like grapeseed is good for overall heart health, and it's got some performance data, especially in endurance athletes. And it's a good complementary ingredient that attacks the nitric oxide pathway at a different standpoint than what citrulline would do to support blood flow and cardiovascular health.
All right, Robert, thank you. We got a question from Bill. Bill wants to know how he can get that job, meaning massage parlor cat house inspector. You can all email Robert, slide into his DM on Instagram for more information. All right, Sean, is it possible to gain strength at the age of 50? Yes. I've been going 5 to 6 days a week for 2 straight years with no breaks. Should I cut the days back to 4 days, chest, triceps, and back and biceps? I'm going to give a little spiel, and then I'll let Robert jump in with some thoughts. Is it possible to gain strength at age 50? Yes. We have to take, obviously, at age 50, we're like an old brick wall. We got a few chips, we got a few cracks, and a few bricks missing. If you don't, you're pretty damn lucky. We have to kind of consider, are there any compound exercises we can't do that will aggravate any existing back, knee, shoulder, etc.? But you can absolutely gain strength. What I generally recommend is a little bit more recovery time, a little bit less volume as a starting point. Maybe 80% normal volume, maybe training 4 days max as a starting point, not as a rule. And then as you learn your body, maybe adding more volume, maybe adding more machines, more isolation work to your compound regimen, etc. Robert, any thoughts?
I agree everything that you said. The older you get, your recovery capacity is impaired to a certain degree just because you're not recovering as quickly as you do as you age. Everything gets a little bit worse as we age. Plus, you've also got more external stressors than probably the single 20-something. So while the stress of, psychological stress, having to deal with work, bills, little kids running around and all that, it's a different kind of stress than resistance training stresses impose on the body. The body overall senses all stress more or less the same. So they all deplete the same recovery resources that you have. And we all have a finite amount of adaptive reserves that we can dip into. So the more external stressors that you have outside of resistance training, the more you be able to need to titrate the amount of volume and intensity that you do. So assuming that, you're in your 50s, you probably have a family, you've got children, you've got an important job, you're working long hours, plus whatever other issues have, hit you over the past 50 years of your existence, you need to moderate the duration, intensity, and total volume that you're doing of your training. But you can make progress. It's just about finding the balance of how much you can do and still effectively recover from and then grow from that same stimulus.
All right. Thanks, Robert. Let's see. Let's jump on over. And again, guys, post up your questions. No questions off topic. I'm curious. We don't ever get any questions on SARMs when Robert is on here. So if you have any SARMs questions, we generally don't do that sort of thing, but
yeah,
they're kind of that gray area stuff. So I'm, if you have anything that's not ridiculous, we'd be happy to answer that as well. I don't advocate SARMs, but there's a lot of people using them. So if you need some education, don't hesitate. Ruben, don't worry. The massage parlors in Tejas are still open. Texas not letting us down. Logan, what's the most underrated supplement right now?
Ooh. Man, I would say in general, joint support supplements or sleep aids, I think are the most underrated just categories of supplements out there by and large. I think gut health supplements are overrated because our understanding of the gut health and the microbiome is so infinitesimal to compare to where we need to be in order to create an effective supplement for that, that I don't think, unless you've got a targeted, you need a more individualized approach to go with a gut health supplement. So people really underplay the contribution of joint health and sleep into recovering adequately and progressing in the gym and just functioning well in a day-to-day life. So look for those two things.
Yeah, sleep is something we talk about, and people are kind of like, okay. But, you got to take your sleep habits seriously, just like you do your eating and your training, not just for training, but for overall health. Robert, did I write the article on somatopause, or did I commission that to you? I can't recall.
That was you. Okay. I did not craft that article. I did some stuff on sleep and things.
I can't remember. But somatopause is basically the decline in human growth hormone levels after the age of 35. And basically every 10 years thereafter, it's like a curve. And basically, when you hit 75 years old, you're at like 8% normal HGH levels or something like that, which makes it harder to recover. That's why grandma and grandpa are sitting around the TV napping all day long.
Yeah.
But the point here is that sleep plays an important role in HGH production. You got to take sleep seriously, especially when you get over the age of 30. Good sleep hygiene.
Absolutely.
All right, that's my rant and rave. All right, Sebastian, any thoughts on post-exercise anxiety, especially after squats, resulting in shaking, which is not a muscle spasm or twitch? Robert, do you think that could be something adrenaline-related or fueling a sense of anxiety?
Yeah, I think it would be just probably a really big spike in cortisol levels in the body. Anytime you do something extremely stressful, like really heavy squats or a high volume workout, your cortisol levels are going to go up. So unless you're having some, and I've noticed this too, because I don't really eat anything until after I finish working out. So, and I've noticed that if I go after a really hard, leg day or a leg and back day, kind of like that A/B split you put out there, I will notice that if too many things go on immediately after my workout, I am really irritable and that much more likely to get pissed off about something. So what I've kind of just through home experimentation, it's got to be the jacked up cortisol from training really hard or doing a lot of volume. And so what could be good for that is having maybe some intra-workout carbs to get the insulin levels a little bit higher, which kind of works counterbalance to cortisol. Have a high carb meal after training, or at the very least, maybe start looking into something like a KSM 66 ashwagandha in the 300 to 600 milligram range. Either in your intra-workout drink or just pop a cap of it post-workout, and that'll help kind of. KSM 66 is an adaptogen, so it improves the body's to perceive, interact, and recover from stress. So it improves the body's totalic stress response. So that will help avoid that post-workout crash or those feelings of edginess, anxiety after a hard workout.
One thing I'll suggest, and this is kind of new agey, but way back in when I was in wrestling, this was in 1984, 1985, in high school wrestling. After our workouts were done, they would turn out the lights and we just lay there on the mat on our back for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Try not to think. We didn't call it meditation because I don't think that's really what the wrestling coach was after, but we would just try to slow our body back down to normalcy and clear ourselves of a little bit of stress. So yeah, I would probably recommend just closing your eyes and chilling in the car after workout for 5 minutes or something like that, just to clear your head.
Yeah, go on like a 5 or 10 minute walk in nature if you can. If you have access to like a little forest or like some kind of green belt walkway or something, do that too. That might help put you at ease.
if I can make everybody really uncomfortable for a moment and talk about masturbation.
Oh no.
I talk a lot about my mentor in college, Dr. Mike, and he was a bodybuilder and English professor. But he once told me, and this is probably the oddest thing he told me, and it was probably complete bro science and bullshit, but he told me after you get done with the workout, go home and masturbate. So that might be an option for you.
I mean, yeah, that helps relieve stress. That gets the dopamine and serotonin and all those happy hormones flowing. So why not?
Or have sex. I know that's making some of you feel uncomfortable, but when you have anxiety, sex is probably really good for anxiety.
Yeah, just get your training partner to help you, and just
right.
Get on with it.
Get your training partner to help you.
Well, I'm assuming your training partner, is the person that you'd be playing Little Spoon, Big Spoon with at night, because that's my training partner, Sandy. And,
okay. I thought you meant your gym partner. You can send all complaints to Robert at the Supplement Engineer. All right, here we go. CBD. All right, Logan, does CBD have any place in muscle building?
No, I don't think so. There's a lot of companies jumping on the bandwagon and putting it in everything from pre-workouts to post-workouts. CBD's main mechanisms of action, what it seems to be doing, which hasn't been extensively replicated in human data, is that it's an anti-inflammatory and or anti-anxiety. I'm wary about putting any kind of compounds that have very powerful anti-inflammatory effects or antioxidant effects in that 3 hours before or after training, because they've got some research showing that those kind of things can impair training adaptations. Could you make an argument saying CBD might help reduce stress later on and might help you sleep better, and by that avenue it's an indirect muscle builder, or it's also reducing some inflammation around your joints and helping recovery? Maybe, but I mean, it is CBD. First off, it's expensive. Nobody really knows the ideal dose, and if you were to use some of the amounts that are actually used in the human study showing benefit, you'd be paying like 10 to 20 times what these CBD supplements cost. There is no way to verify the quality of most of these CBD supplements. So it is so far down below on my muscle building list of supplements. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around a long time, and you've been through the wars as well. Every now and then there comes along something that catches fire a little bit, and everybody tries to put it in everything, and the price is jacked up. I remember back in 86, 87, 88, there was some sublingual supplement we would take, and at GNC they would have it locked up, and I was all excited, and I'd pay like $60 for it, and it did jack shit. I'm going to piss off some people here, but me and Robert have talked about it before. CBD oil, there's really not a lot of research to back any concrete benefits. So what Robert said is to be careful. It's going to be pricey, and you're going to have a shit show when it comes to quality. So if you're going to mess around with it, we're not saying it does not have benefits. We're saying scientifically the jury is still trying to figure that out, but just get a good quality and don't pay out of the ass.
Right.
Guitar jams. Is there a best rep range for hypertrophy? No. Well, there is a reasonable range. But, one thing when you look at training.
It's starting to rain on me, Steve, so I'm going to move inside.
All right, no problem. When you look at training, you got to look at it from a big picture standpoint. You can't go in and do compound movements, 20 sets of compound movements for an extended period of time. You're probably going to beat your body up. So there's basically a hierarchy. You're going to basically move from compounds to less impactful exercises. Because you have a different range of exercises, you're probably going to have a different range of reps for each one that makes sense. You cannot say that. One thing that pisses me off about the 5x5 mentality is no exercise is really the same. For one exercise, 5 reps feels good. For another, 5 reps doesn't. So really, you want to be reasonable. You want to have it exercise specific. You want to have it based on your needs. For example, if I have to do barbell rows over 5 reps, I want to punch myself in the nuts. I just don't like it. And that's not science. That's just a personal thing. So no, I try to attack things from a wide range of reps and also considering exercise specific requirements. Robert, any thoughts?
Yeah, to echo on the thing, I think there's some data showing that, the hypertrophy is basically optimized anywhere between 6 reps and 30 reps. So, and as long as you're pushing those higher end sets, those higher rep protocols, like the 20 to 30 rep range to failure, you're going to get the same amount of hypertrophy that goes on in like the 6 to 12. Now, I would say the most efficient rep range probably is the 6 to 12, because most people, once they get past 15, they're just going to they're not actually going to be pushing to failure. They'll probably just get bored and stop, where their muscles could actually do it, but mentally they've kind of checked out and they're not actually pushing as hard. So I would say optimal is probably 8 to 12, or most efficient for most people. And plus doing, 25, 30 reps of any kind of leg exercise just fucking sucks. I mean, it's miserable to do super high reps of that. But still, it's exercise dependent, as you mentioned. Certain movements lend themselves better to higher reps, and certain movements lend themselves better to lower reps. I don't want to be doing, a 25 rep set of RDLs. That doesn't make sense at all. You could do that with leg curls, but again, you want to fit the rep range you want to use to the exercise that you're trying to do it. There's benefits to training in all of the rep ranges. You get more of a mechanical tension stimulus from the lower end of that 6 to 30 rep range. So in the 6 to 15, then you get more of the pump and metabolic stress benefits training in the 15 to 30 rep range. You'll get the same end result, but you're targeting it through different mechanisms of hypertrophy. So you get different benefits, and why not use every tool in your arsenal to try and get that if you can?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons, excuse me, why the systems like Power Muscle Burn, Power Muscle Block are so effective. And, we talked about my mentor, Dr. Mike. That's how he taught me to train in 1986. And I didn't know if it was crap or whatnot, but it worked for me. And looking back, it was extremely reasonable. And I think reasonable is a good way to frame it. Now, when it comes to hypertrophy, Robert, there are some exercises where our conditioning breaks down or impedes our ability to perform this exercise. For me, dumbbell rows, RDLs. I can't do. I can do high reps with dumbbell rows, but after one set per each arm, I'm completely. I have to take like a 5-minute break just so I don't die.
Yeah.
So, are there any exercises you find that are more taxing from a cardiovascular standpoint?
I mean, basically any kind of super heavy leg exercise. So one way, instead of having to do back squats at home, like, and I've talked about this before, and even when we trained, you said you look really lanky with back squats in general. So it makes it awkward for me to do it. So I've always preferred Bulgarian split squats as my kind of strength building exercise. But even then, I'll kind of set it up on a counter, where I used to do a protocol of every minute, every other minute. So I start the timer at time 0. I would do my right leg for 6 to 8 reps. And then once that usually takes, between 20 and 30 seconds, and then having a minute and a half to rest. And then at the 2-minute mark, I'd do my other side, and then 4 minutes, go back to the first side, 6 minutes, go back. But man, what I've noticed is that sticking in like the 6 to 7 rep range is fine, but getting into like the 8, 10, 12, you need more recovery between that, because it's just, you're sucking wind and you can't actually, perform to the best of your abilities when you limit yourself to that. So I would think, and that can bring us into the topic of rest times, where I used to be super strict about rest times with certain things, but the longer I've been training, the more I'm starting to become intuitive with it. And that's kind of counter to my brain, because you and I are both, men of science. We like to be able to organize everything into certain blocks and follow a strict regimen and a schedule and all that. And I've always asked people that have been in, the iron game much longer than I have. I said, well, how long do you rest? How do you time it? And they said, I just go off feel. And I never understood that. That never jived with me. But I think I'm finally reaching that point where, I can just kind of go by feel now. I'm not, married to this stopwatch that I'm looking at saying, oh no, I was supposed to only rest 60 seconds and it's been 63 and a half seconds. And now I'm going to lose everything. So it's certain exercises, most body weight stuff I'm okay with. Rows to a certain extent, if I get up past 12 reps on a row, that gets, but I think more the T-bar row or a chest supported dumbbell row taxes me infinitely more than a one arm row does from a cardio standpoint.
Yeah, for me, RDLs and dumbbell rows are the big ones.
Yeah.
When I was at my strongest and biggest, I would only do one set of dumbbell rows. I'd go in and do my deadlifts, and then I'd basically work up to a heavy set on deadlifts for the day, whatever that happened to be. Sometimes a triple, sometimes a 5, not with a pure 3-rep max or anything like that. And then I would do one set of dumbbell rows. And at the power station, they have the Ronnie Coleman dumbbells, which are 200 pounds.
Yeah.
I would be doing those for 30, 35, 40 reps. Cool. And, when I was done with my right arm, I was ready to go home.
Right.
Just the cardiovascular stress it placed on my body. So, Robert, we have a supplement question from Logan. Top 3 supplements people need to be taking.
You don't need to take any supplements. I'm not sure if it's a trick question or if it's kind of a gotcha thing, but you don't need any kind of supplement. If they were, they'd be called requirements instead of supplements. With that caveat said, I would say that most deficiencies found in individuals are magnesium, zinc, vitamin D. Those are top 3 of the top mineral and vitamin deficiencies that plague the population across the globe. And those support, I want to say, magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body. Vitamin D plays an important thing in bone health, calcium absorption, immune function. Zinc is involved in testosterone production and a bunch of other it's the second most abundant trace mineral in the body. So these are things that aren't sexy. They're not going to add slabs of pound to your muscle, but they will promote your overall health and wellness. And because most people don't eat that great of a diet, they're very low in these essential nutrients that we need.
I'm finding more and more, and this is just a generalization, that in our current landscape, more and more lifters like that I interact with, whether it's running into them with coaching or on Massive Iron, Facebook or whatever, they're eating more sloppy than ever.
Yeah.
And I'm not being critical, but what I am saying is that when a higher percentage of your food is from crap, you really need to take your base supplements seriously. Is that a fair statement, Robert?
I agree with those sentiments 100%. A couple other things you could throw in there. So you can take care of all of those with a nice multivitamin. Fish oil is always a good thing. And I would throw, creatine in there because it's got benefits outside of just physical performance.
All right, Robert. Bill Leach says, be a devil, not a snowflake. Okay, I'm all in for that. Brett Wild, gyms here in Southwest Wyoming opened Monday. I'm actually surprised they closed in Wyoming, to be honest with you. So glad to hear that, Brent. I know a lot. I've been looking at some of the data, and not to talk politics, but there seems to be a difference between red states and blue states with which ones are opening. Yep. And I'm really surprised that a lot of the Western states, I think not a lot of them shut down, or some of them remained open. But anyway, glad you're getting back to the gym. Jeremy, I eat 1.5 grams of protein each day during my cut. I'm assuming per pound of body weight or pound of lean body mass. But since I increased intensity during my workout, each set to failure, I keep craving protein. First off, Jeremy, I'm going to say stop training each set to failure. That is unnecessary. It increases the risk versus the reward. I will also say that every exercise is different and provides a different set of physical demands. Training one exercise to failure might not be as demanding as training the other to failure. So I would strongly advocate, if you're doing that, to move to my method of training each set for as many safe reps as possible, stopping the set when you feel like you're going to fail on the next rep or when your form starts to break down. There's no need to train a failure. So Robert, to his supplement question, assuming he goes to my method or sticks with his method, is it safe to increase his protein?
Yeah, it's safe. I mean, they've done studies that, and I wrote pitched me this article probably a year and a half ago on high protein diets and debunking a lot of the common myths. Does it reduce bone mineral density? Does it destroy your kidneys? Does it do all of this other stuff? Is it hazardous to you? Does it make your blood overly acidic? And all to a point, all of those are no, no, no. High protein diets are safe even for prolonged periods of time. They've gone as high as 3.2 or 4 grams per kilogram per day. So that's over 2 grams per pound of body weight of protein per day. And for 6-12 months at a time in both men and women, and it's fine. Higher protein diets are associated with greater bone mineral density, greater bone health, more lean body mass, overall health properties. So yeah, if you want to go up to it, sure. Is it going to give you any much more benefit? Probably not, to a certain point, because once you hit that threshold of kind of, especially in a cutting phase of 1.2 to 1.3, you won't probably get much more benefit in muscle retention than you would. You could be taking some carbs to help, keep insulin levels a little bit higher, stave off some of the catabolic actions that are prone to happen when you are in a calorie deficit.
One thing I'll say is anytime you're dealing with a craving for a natural food, like protein or veggies or whatever,
yeah.
Unless you have some rare condition that something's broken in your brain, it's probably okay.
Right.
So just listen to your body. A lot of this is just convenience and personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been a guy that could eat 225, 250 grams of protein a day. I like eating my rice. I like, and I know that sounds silly because I went 2 years when I lost weight not eating any of that. But like I could eat rice with every meal, rice and steak, rice and shrimp, whatever. So as long as you're getting in your bare minimum, you're fine, so no issues at all.
Do you prefer rice to pasta, Steve, or some of the other carb sources like potatoes or quinoa or just like whole wheat bread or something like that?
There was a period of time, I think I was one of the first people that was beating the quinoa drum just because it was high protein. I really there's certain things with quinoa, like I like mixing it with salsa and chicken. It kind of hides in the salsa. But certain ways of eating quinoa aren't as pleasant for me. So I have to find ways to eat it. So that's very meal specific. I've messed around with other forms of carb sources, like even with couscous. I find couscous, I could eat a ton of calories with that, and I never feel satisfied. And pasta, not a big pasta eater. In college, I lived off macaroni and cheese and canned tuna because it was all I had. But black rice and white rice are really my go-to, and roasted potatoes. I like roasted veggies. So that's really about it.
That works.
All right, what do we got here? Steven, ever contemplate taking PEDs earlier in your career? There's a story I tell where I was in college back in New Mexico in 1987, and I had my handy-dandy little Weider magazines, Flex and Muscle and Fitness, and in the back of those magazines, Joe Weider would take money from anybody with a buck. Because Joe Weider, for whatever you want to say about him, never turned a dollar away from anybody. So back in those days, you could do mail order steroids. It was in the back of every Weider magazine. Send your money off to Canada. And that was in every magazine. And, back in those days without the internet, we had one magazine a month for lifting. So we would read it like 17 times. And you'd eventually go to the ads and you'd read the ads like 17 times. And as a poor college student, one time I saved up $200 and I sent it off to Canada to get some steroids. I had no idea what I was doing, but needless to say, when you send cash to somebody, you're unlikely to get something back. So I never received anything back. I wouldn't call that a serious contemplation of steroids. That was more of a juvenile thing. And sorry to ramble on here, Robert, but did I contemplate them after 2007? Well, I think everybody contemplates them. I think everybody goes through a process where they consider the benefit versus the cost. And I've actually I had very low testosterone when I was a fatty. I think my levels were 176 the first time I got them checked. And I talked to a TRT clinic, and I didn't know at the time there was gray area TRT clinics. This was back in like 206, 207. They would have given me whatever I wanted. The problem is the cost. So with PEDs, the issue is, from what I've seen, and I've met with so many people and discussed them with so many people, once you get on, you don't want to get off. You don't want to get off the wagon. So you have to be prepared for a long journey ahead. So contemplate, yes. Everybody on the internet, or not everybody, but a lot of people think I get so many comments that I'm a steroid abuser and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I didn't stick a needle in my ass when my total was around 1900. You can believe it. You cannot believe it. It's just the way things were. And, I contemplate it every single day. I do. But it's like, what's the point, really? What's the point in doing all these elaborate cycles and dealing with anti-estrogens and all this kind of shit? My body, I seem to like to get big and strong no matter what I do. So I was always afraid that if I jumped on some of these cycles that other people jumped on, that I'd wake up like 20 pounds heavier and look like a monkey. And I don't want to look like a I don't want to look like a gorilla. So, Robert, how about you?
No, I don't really say I've ever really seriously contemplated it. I mean, one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid was Rocky IV, and they always made, Ivan Drago was getting injected with this, but Rocky was doing it the wholesome way, where he was climbing up mountains and lifting stones. And, obviously Sylvester Stallone was definitely on some stuff back then too, but you as a 8-year-old, you're not thinking that. You see he's doing it the wholesome way, and Ivan Drago's the big scary commie Russian that's doing it the bad way. And then we had the DARE program when I was in elementary school, which was drug abuse resistance education. So any kind of drug was bad. Drugs are bad, and you had Mr. What's his face from South Park that went, drugs are bad and gay. And so all of these things, it never really, entered into me. Any kind of illegal substance has not entered into my body. So I've never really had any dalliance with exotic special sports supplements, or really craving to do some.
I will say, as an end cap, let's talk about TRT just for a second. In the fitness world and in the real world, TRT can very often be two different things.
Yeah.
In the real world, TRT is generally doctor supervised, not gray area clinic supervised. That'll give you anything. And it is generally moderate and reasonable. When you see your favorite fitness personality talking about TRT, I'm not saying, and I'm not speaking in absolutes, but I'm saying there's a strong likelihood, and that could be 30% or 50% or 70%, whatever you consider strong to be, that when they say they're on TRT, they're working with a gray area clinic or a robo-doc that basically will give them whatever they want. So just always consider that when your favorite personality is talking about TRT. Any thoughts on that, Robert?
I'd agree with you on that. And some of the longevity and anti-aging stuff surrounding TRT with guys 45, 50 plus is intriguing. So I could see a utility of it there. But for a pure sports performance benefit, unless you're, I don't know, competing at the upper echelons of some kind of strength or physique sport, yeah.
All right, let's see what we got. Brandon, moving on. You guys continue your questions. We'll stay on as long as you got questions. We're rolling today. Just want to give a shout out. I encourage you guys to follow Robert on social media. The Supplement Engineer on Instagram, The Supplement Engineer on YouTube, his website, The Supplement Engineer. He's got a great podcast. We also offer a service at my website, superlivingtoday.com, where Robert will do a supplement assessment for you, and it is a good value. It'll save you money over the long run and get you focused on taking the things you need to take. So check that out. Brandon, I got lucky with a hot girl watching Twilight. So I wouldn't be so quick to knock the sparkly vampires. Well, Brandon, I will say that your limited data pool is a very limited data pool. The fact that you had to watch Twilight to get lucky is reaching an extreme, and I would not advocate it. It's dangerous because you're attracting the type of women. You're setting a precedent where you have to watch Dirty Dancing or Twilight or Grease to get lucky, or Ghost or whatever. So just be careful, gentlemen. Just be very careful by setting that precedent.
And I grew up, my dad raised us proper. You know, my parents were married, but I'm going to say my dad raised us on monster movies. And so I grew up watching Bela Lugosi from the old 1930s Dracula, and I saw Bram Stoker's Dracula. And so vampires have always been this super scary thing that would seduce you, kill you. Interview with a Vampire. I loved reading all the Anne Rice novels. Those were really good. And then to see them turn into these sparkly little powder puffs, just So,
I remember, is it Bram Stoker? Yeah, Bram Stoker was the author. Is that his name?
Yeah, the original. Yep.
I remember reading that book in my very early 20s, and I remember it being so intriguing and a little bit borderline disturbing, you know, with the flies. And it's nothing compared to the stuff we have today, but you know, it's just a classic, well written, and I can't get that out of my head when I see vampires. So
yeah,
I don't need sparkly vampires.
Exactly.
I don't really. Why are women attracted to sparkly dead people? I don't really know.
I don't know. I can get Sandy in here. She read the book and liked them. I can get her in here to see.
Yeah. Well, all right, Nigel. They need to actually look inside a comic book. They all look like Conan, Commando, or Schwarzenegger. Yeah, that's kind of my message yesterday. A superhero is super. They don't take the easy route.
Yeah.
That comes not just physically, but with ethics and morals. They have tough decisions to make, and they generally adhere to standards that challenge us to maybe reach. So
yeah, or they're supposed to be the best version of the human form. That includes mentally, emotionally, psychologically, physically, everything. And being a part of your physical best is being in shape and taking care of your body.
It's an interesting dynamic, and I'd be interested to hear your opinion, because my era was Hulk Hogan and Rambo and Rocky, and you know, guys that weren't all ripped and lean. They were like 240, 220, a little bit flabby, but they just kicked ass. And I'm not saying that's better. That was my world, you know, where masculinity and a little bit more meat was more normal. And nowadays, you know, there can be an attack on things like that. But I don't know, Robert, do you think it has something to do with that, like the change in culture?
Yeah, the pussification of men. Yes, I definitely think that's a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Jeffrey, and keep the questions coming, guys. We'll stand. Jeffrey, do you have any tips for joint pain? I'm 19 and my knees hurt a bit and my elbows feel a bit strained. Is there any long-term solution? Could it be because I haven't done any heavy lifting in a while? Robert, any thoughts?
Is he having the joint pain due to inactivity? Is the joint pain as a result of the exercises he's using? Did he maybe jump into what he was doing presently too soon, like he did too much, too hard, too fast kind of thing? What's the source of the joint pain? It's kind of ambiguous.
Jeffrey, or Robert, I'm going to jump in here, and that was my thoughts as well. When you are analyzing or trying to solve a problem like this, we need all the information. What's your current body weight? Do you have a history of doing a lot of compound movements with crappy form?
Yeah.
Are you very inactive most of the day? It's not normal for a 19-year-old to have joint pain. Some people are very hypersensitive to pain. Meaning, and then that's not a criticism, but some lifters, some folks I work with will be like, I worked out and I have a tweak here, there, or otherwhere, and like that's just normal part of lifting and strengthening. So we would need more information. If you could provide more information, any more insight, that would help.
Yeah.
All right. Pure bullfit. Two of my favorite faces in one places.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, Kevin. I appreciate it. Let's see. We got Faizan. Any advice for getting my sleeping schedule back to normal? I stay up ages doing assignments. I end up losing time for the gym. Any thoughts on that, Robert?
Improve time management skills. Steve and I both went through college and did extracurriculars and studied and all that. So I guess my number one point would block out your day as much as you can and try to stick to that. Make your hours maximize your hours of productivity. So if you know you're most productive between the hours of like 10 and 2, 10 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, get all your shit done then. Take an hour to break, eat, whatever, then go train, and then trying to get your sleep schedule back on normal. Melatonin can help with, establishing a circadian rhythm, avoiding blue lights in the hour or two before bed, trying to establish some other kind of routine, whether it's reading, lighting a candle, drinking some tea, listening to music, doing something like that to get your body in the zone to say, hey, it's time to wind down. There's a bunch of supplements that can help kind of take the edge off. I mentioned a couple of them earlier. KSM 66 is good. L-theanine is good. But really, it goes back to structuring your day. It begins with structuring your day and setting it up for success so that when it's time for you to actually crash at the end of the night, you can.
So I would say, like, one thing I learned from college, my first year was a shit show. I didn't have any study habits. My parents didn't teach me any study habits, and I had to learn under fire. So I didn't do my best performance my first year. And what I learned after that was I needed to get my studies done immediately during the day, not put them off immediately. So I was very routine. Once class was finished, I would go to the library and I'd stay there until my work was done.
Yeah.
Two things I would suggest for the lifter, or maybe three things. Number one, get up, knock it out before classes. Even if it's 30 minutes, that's option number one. It's done. It's off your plate. Then if you stay up late, the next day you can rest, get back into a normal rhythm. Option number two is immediately after classes are done for the day, go do your workout and then start your studies immediately.
Yeah.
Very strict, very with a focus on time management. Number three, if you have a really prolonged day where you have a lot of studies to do on a big paper, one thing you could do is take a break after 2 hours. Go work out, refresh your mind, and then get back at your studies. So it really doesn't matter how you do it. It's more important that you have a structure and know the structure.
Yeah, don't sacrifice sleep. I was never a person that could stay up late studying. Like once 7, 8 o'clock hit, my mind turned off. But I've always been a morning person, so I would rather get to sleep and wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. and then start working that much earlier. So kind of calibrate things to how your body works. But at the same time, by starting it, and if you're really pressed for time, check out Steve's bulldozer training or his block training. It's a rest pause system. It's a ton of quality volume. And it's a great program. Sane and I ran it, right after we first had our daughter born, when we didn't have a whole lot of time to train. And I mean, it was great. It's a huge time saver if you're trying to get in a lot of quality volume, but you don't have necessarily an hour and a half to 2 hours to spend in the gym.
Yeah, I did. Before I got into powerlifting, I did bulldozer training for a complete year, and I only did 3 exercises per day. My workouts are generally 40 to 45 minutes. And it was one of my favorite ways to train. So that's an option as well. Another thing I'll mention, and this is just general advice for most people, when you are sitting down to be productive, whether it's studying or work or whatever, do not allow yourself to watch TV. Do not allow yourself to play video games, and set your damn phone down. When I'm writing or editing, I have to set my phone down and say I'm not going to look at it until 2 o'clock, because if you start going down that trail of death, it's going to suck your time.
Yeah.
Robert, thoughts on glucosamine chondroitin?
Those are kind of two of the OG joint health supplements. they've done enough studies on the degree them in combination and individually. Plus, there's a couple of metas out there showing that they do have a marginal improvement in joint range of motion, decreasing symptoms of joint pain and like that. I don't want to make that. I wouldn't make that the only kind of joint health thing I would do. I would look into some other things like cysts quadrangularis, or if you can find one of the more well-rounded joint formulas out there. Those two are usually included as part of the formula, but I would like to see something besides just those two ingredients in a joint health formula. So they're good, but I think of them as more as supporting cast members than headliners.
Thanks, Robert. Pure Bullfit, Robert is hands down one of the smartest guys out there in the industry. That is absolutely 100% true.
Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate that, man.
Stan from Norway, thoughts on yohimbine?
I like it. It's not for everybody. Some people get anxiety. The quality of the extract also depends, because a lot of the times when yohimbe first hit on the market, so yohimbine is the active alkaloid of the yohimbe tree. When yohimbe first came on the market, you saw yohimbe extracts ranging anywhere from like 1% yohimbine to 8% to 40% yohimbine. So you really never knew what they were. And I would always describe it as like this glitchy kind of feeling. If you get a really shitty yohimbine extract, you get those feelings of irritation, anxiousness, and just kind of feel just off. It's just like a kind of feeling that's going on there. If you can find a really good quality or just a straight yohimbine hydrochloride extract in the 3 to 5 milligram range, I really like. Alpha yohimbine is a stereoisomer of yohimbine that you can get. It hits a little bit harder on the front end, but it's got a little bit better mood enhancement effects than regular yohimbine does. Great for targeting stubborn fat, a lot of people will say, since it interacts with the alpha-2 adrenergic receptors on fat cells, meaning, so you have alpha receptors and beta receptors. To keep things super simple, beta receptors support fat loss. Alpha receptors, when they're stimulated by your catecholamines, so adrenaline, dopamine, noradrenaline, that basically turns them into fat storage mode and shuts off fat burning. Yohimbine acts as an antagonist to that, so it binds to that alpha-2 receptor, which frees up more of the dopamine, adrenaline, noradrenaline to bind to the beta receptors on the fat cell, get them to unlock and release those stored fatty acids into the bloodstream so they can be oxidized for energy and ATP production while you're exercising and doing anything else. The issue is finding out what dose of yohimbine, because they have a milligram per kilogram ratio, but it's recommended that people usually start on the smaller end. But up higher body weight individuals can work up to like 15 to 20 milligrams based on your body weight, because it's 0.02 milligrams per kilogram, I believe, is the clinically studied dose that they used in soccer players, noting some recomp effects. So yes, it works really well. I like it in combination with caffeine. The thing is, if you want to get the fat burning benefits of yohimbine and not just purely the stimulation effects of it and the mood enhancement, it needs to be taken in a fasted state, because insulin negates the fat burning beneficial effects of yohimbine. So that is everything about yohimbine in about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's one supplement I often recommend people try, but with my clients, I find that those that try it often run into issues that could, like you say, some people respond differently to it. For some people, they feel a little bit off anxiety-wise, and some of it could be quality, related. So
correct, yeah. Always look for a good brand. S&S makes a really good yohimbine hydrochloride, and their alpha yohimbine is really good. There's a couple of pre-workouts that have it in there and some fat-burning powders, and we can discuss those offline, just so we can find something that's more in line with your caffeine and stimulant needs.
All right, Robert, we got a lot of questions today. You doing all right?
I'm doing perfect, yeah.
Okay. Tom, my daughter is going vegetarian. She's 21. Thoughts on diet and supplementation? I'll give you my quick thoughts on diet.
Yeah.
Buy her about 5 books on vegan vegetarian recipes. That'll help her as a launching point. A lot of people, when they look at my bookshelf, and my bookshelf is right back here, there's a lot of vegan books, and people get alarmed. They get concerned. Like, don't be concerned. I'm just learning how to cook my vegetables better. So I would strongly recommend education in every form. Encourage her, because even if she does not remain as a vegetarian, or say she progresses to full vegan, it will increase her ability to better manage vegetable intake in the future, it'll open doors for. Robert, any thoughts on diet and supplementation?
Vegetarian, some concerns there are going to be B12, since that's only in animal foods. So if she's like an ovo-lacto vegetarian where she's still going to consume fish, eggs, some riffs on vegetarianism also allow for poultry. I've never understood that, but sure. So eggs, dairy, fish, if you're going with that, you can take care of your omega-3s and your B12 through that. If not, you're going to want to look into getting some of those, definitely a good quality omega-3, because the body's conversion rate of plant-based omega-3s into the useful forms in the body, so EPA and DHA, is next to nothing. It's like 10 to 15% at most. So look into a good quality omega-3 supplement, get some B12 in you, and just check your overall protein. Maybe consider supplementing with a plant-based protein powder if you want to, or whey if you're doing the dairy okay vegetarian form. Whey is a great protein source, just to make sure you're getting enough amino acids in your bloodstream and enough leucine to stimulate protein synthesis.
Thanks, Robert.
Yep.
I need sleep tips. I'm going to give mine, and I'll let Robert fill in the gaps. Set a time where you go to bed every single night at the same time. Make sure the room is dark and somewhat cool. Make sure you're disconnected from your phone at least an hour before you want to go to sleep. So not only is your brain not processing information, give your brain a chance to detach, but going through all that blue light, whatever stuff. So you know what I'm saying, Robert? All the hype about blue light. Yeah. A real good, it's really good if your partner's in this routine. If your partner's not in this routine, it's probably a good time to have a come to Jesus talk, because couples that kind of sleep together and they bond better together, it's lower anxiety, lower stress, and then you have the sex aspect. So Robert, any thoughts on sleep hygiene?
Echo everything you already said. One thing I know that the blue light thing is big these days. The interesting thing is that growing up, I always, and I realize this is an N=1, so it's just anecdotal account, so whatever. I always fell asleep with a TV on. Like I would fall asleep watching TV, and I never had any issue sleeping, even right up until the point when Sandy and I got married. I would still fall asleep with the TV, and then she came into the bedroom and she said, "You got to turn that off. I can't fall asleep," because she didn't grow up having a TV in her bedroom or fell asleep watching TV. So for some people, I guess if you're accustomed to falling asleep with it, it may not be a big deal. But if you are somebody that does have trouble falling asleep, get it out of the room. Get your cell phone out of the room. Get one of those old school alarm clocks that you have to wind up and has a little hammer between the two bells, and it goes ring, 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 and do all that. Start early in the morning. Even think about sleep hygiene in the morning. Get exposure to sunlight within the first 30 to 60 minutes of waking up, because that gets your whole circadian rhythm going throughout the day. So when the sun does go down, your melatonin production starts ramping up, and it can start getting your body into that lulled state. Some of the things we had mentioned earlier: establish the routine. Have some chamomile tea before you go to bed. Take a hot bath or a hot shower. That helps. Some light stretching or light yoga helps, or foam rolling could do well. Relaxing music, reading by candlelight or dim light can also be good. It's from a supplementation standpoint, and most of the anti-stress, anti-anxiety supplements are found in sleep formula. So valerian, hops, KSM 66, L-theanine, Sensoril is another riff on ashwagandha that's been shown to be pretty good. I like all of those. Melatonin supplementation. The issue with melatonin is that it's been studied anywhere from 0.3 milligrams to 10 milligrams in people, and it's worked across a wide spectrum. The issue is that some people don't get any benefit from the 0.3 dose, and when some other individuals take 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams, they wake up feeling really groggy. So it's kind of, you got to play with melatonin a little bit.
All right, Robert, that's some really good advice. Regarding the noise, I always sleep with a fan. I find when I don't sleep with some form of background noise, I feel more aware and less, I'm processing information while I'm trying to sleep. So
or I get really hot at night too. So we sleep at the house at 68 degrees and the fan on full blast, because both of us get super hot at night, and I will wake up in like a full flop sweat if
I keep the air conditioning on through most of winter here in Ohio. Make sure it drops
Yeah.
because our bedroom is above our lower property, which is my office.
Yeah, and heat
And the
rises.
office
So
heat, yeah, the heat. So I usually, when I go upstairs for the night, I usually hit the air conditioning to take it down to 60.
nice,
So
nice.
that's non-negotiable. My gosh. All right, Kurt. Do you follow natural bodybuilding? And if so, who are your favorite competitors currently competing or have competed in the past? Robert, do you follow natty bodybuilding at all?
The ones that I did follow haven't competed in a while, and most of those are like the guys that are in the evidence-based lifting community. So Eric Helms, Alberto Nunez, Eric Trexler. Those are the guys that I've followed, but I never really paid attention much to the natural bodybuilding circuit. I think it's great. I've never really found much interest in watching the shows. I find more interest in some of the supplementation, the training protocols, their research findings, and what they're contributing to the betterment of understanding of training philosophies for all people, whether you're enhanced or not.
Yeah, I think the natty community has given a lot when it comes to training and supplementation and diet because they have to fight more for what they get, and
Yeah.
it just seems that a lot of the best information comes out through that. Where in the enhanced community, you have to filter everything, and I will say some of the coaches that are involved in the enhanced community, and people might find this scandalous or hard to believe. They're not just doing exercise coaching and diet coaching, they're doing chemical coaching as well.
Yeah.
So when you see one of these big names, and I'm not going to name names, a lot of times the reason the super stud goes to them as a coach is because said super stud coach knows his pharmacy, his pharmacy tools, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But not back to the topic, natural bodybuilding. If you go back to my work at Muscle and Strength, I was one of the big people in the industry, probably the biggest person in the industry that was interviewing natural bodybuilders, giving them a platform at Muscle and Strength, interviewing them, doing transformations. There's a whole wealth of old school natural, and old school, I mean, 2000s natural bodybuilders. I filmed a lot of them. I worked with a lot of them. A lot of the big celebrities at the time, if you can call them celebrities in that industry. Yeah. So I was very, very familiar with it for quite a while. When I got into powerlifting, I kind of detached from it. One of the things that I guess I reached a stage of fatigue a little bit because not that I don't like natural bodybuilding, but I don't like staying at 175. I'm more personally the type of guy that likes to stay a little bit heavier, a little bit beefier. I feel a little bit better. I feel a little bit more confident, and I just don't connect with it as much. And anybody that doesn't understand what I'm saying, you just need to go to a major natural bodybuilding contest, see how thin these guys are. Not a slam, but I just don't like being 165, 168, or 180 in the off season. So, all right, Fernando, creatine at 17 years old. Fernando, unfortunately, we do not provide advice without parental consent for anyone under 17. So I would talk with your doctor, talk with your parents. KO Surge, best sleep supplement.
There is no best. It kind of depends on how you react to melatonin. Reference what I was saying earlier about what's the right melatonin dose for you. One that I really like that I've been using lately is Glaxon's sedative. That's a really good one. It's sneaky. Some of the doses they've got a good lineup of ingredients in there, and a couple of them are off the beaten path. But something about it, man, I will take it. It says to take it 60 to 90 minutes before bed, and I'll only sleep like 5 or 6 hours, but I wake up feeling super refreshed, like I've slept 8 or 9 or 10 hours. I like that. Morpho-REM by Morphogen Nutrition is another really good one. Or you can just get some bulk ingredients and make a bulk stack. Get some melatonin, theanine, and KSM 66, which is just kind of a sleep sack that I'll use every now and then of just those bulk ingredients, and I'll just throw them all back and take a swig of water, and that's it.
All right, Robert, we're moving on to Logan. Biggest pro and con to taking a SARM. A con is it's probably not scientifically backed. And it is illegal. So those are cons. Robert, any thoughts?
They are woefully, woefully, woefully understudied in healthy individuals. They've been used for things like muscle wasting and cachexia in elderly populations and people that have muscle wasting diseases. Some bodybuilders and former college athletes have gotten busted using them. They might work in that they might target the androgen receptors in the body like testosterone will, but have a more targeted approach to them. So hence their name as selective androgen receptor modulators. So they're supposed to be more like a laser guided bomb than just a nuke that would obliterate everything. There's no comprehensive, conclusive body of evidence in healthy human beings showing that they're really beneficial or safe for long-term use. They are research chemicals for a reason. Another thing to consider is the source of them. I mean, if you're just buying them off sketchy supplementvendor.com, chances are it's probably an oral steroid that they're just labeling as RAD140 or LGD4033, and it's got winstrol in it or some other kind of pro-hormone. It's not actually a SARM. So sourcing like CBD is, wildly suspect, and there's no guarantee what you're actually getting in that bottle. You couldn't pay me to take a SARM right now. Not even close.
No. I mean, no way. You also have something basically related that could be related or equated to the training effect. And that is, if you give somebody a new stimulus, a new training program, their results are going to improve.
Yep.
This is scientifically proven. It can be the same stuff, just in a different format, and their results were improved. So that's kind of the training effect. And when it comes to supplements, you can see the same thing. You can give somebody shit in a bottle, and all of a sudden they think their results are improving. So when you see somebody saying, I took SARM whatever and I got results, unless they got data, like arm and leg measurements and scientific shit, it's just a steaming pile of monkey bro shit.
And one of the common things or myths around SARMs is that they can't cause shutdown or suppression. They can. RAD140 can definitely cause suppression.
All right, so woodulus. I've seen experts saying to avoid flax as it being estrogenic. Is it BS or truth?
It's BS. I mean, various plant foods do have phytoestrogens in them, but I mean, the order of magnitude of flaxseed you would have to consume in order to get these phytoestrogens to any reasonably meaningful concentration in your body to confer negative estrogen effects in the body is so absurd that you would get sick and die probably of flaxseed poisoning before you ever got some of these anti or negative estrogen effects. So no, it's hogwash.
I could do a full video on it, and I feel like doing it right now, but it's one of these things where most people fear estrogen more than they fear taking care of their body. So the average person, if they're going to come to me like, oh my God, am I going to die from having flax or soy? The first thing I want to do is, let's look at your diet and make sure you're optimizing it for your testosterone levels. Make sure you're getting your ass outside. Let's make sure you're doing some cardio. Let's make sure your weight is regulated before you start worrying that eating a fucking soybean is going to cause your testicle to fall off. And I'm not saying you are, woodulus. I'm just saying that's kind of what you got to look at.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing at when paleo first broke on the scene in like 08 or 09, 010. Or the primal diet. They were confused about all these anti-nutrients and phthalates and phytates and all of these other things that were sneaking around in plant foods, and you should avoid grains and legumes and all this other stuff because it's leaching these essential minerals from your body. The human body is not that fucking delicate. We've survived for eons for a reason.
Yeah, the human body is actually the opposite. All right, Indrajit, best recovery supplements.
Start off by consuming enough protein and enough carbohydrate. That'll help recovery, as much or even more than any supplement possibly could. So make sure those two things are shipshape before we get into anything else. Creatine does have some benefits in recovery. That would be a good thing to start with. I don't know, keep saying creatine over and over and over again, but there's a reason. It's awesome. It works. It's cheap. It's safe. It's effective. Been studied from kids super young, like 3-5-year-olds, all the way up to the elderly. So it's safe across a broad spectrum of age ranges. It's effective across a broad range of ages and lifestyles. Other things that may not be as tuned onto L-carnitine, L-tartrate has been shown to help reduce muscle damage and improve recovery, limit muscle soreness in the after hours of intense eccentric exercise. So 1 to 2 grams post-workout could help. Another good one is tart cherry juice or some tart cherry juice powder. That could be a really good one to try. Let's see, what else? What's some other good ones? Tart cherry juice, L-carnitine, L-tartrate, carb, protein. If you're not really feeling full, then you could make an argument for carb and protein powders. That's kind of really where I would put the most of my recovery supplements. Glutamine's not going to do any good. There's an alternative form of glutamine called cysteamine, which is L-alanine, the amino L-alanine binded to L-glutamine to form a dipeptide. So 2 peptides, 2 amino acids bonded together through a peptide bond. That's shown enhanced bioavailability, and that's actually been shown to reduce muscle soreness and improve recovery much better than any kind of glutamine supplement ever could. Again, these are small differences, but focus on, nutrition first, and then consider L-carnitine, L-tartrate, maybe some tart cherry juice. Curcumin might be another one, but then again, that brings up the anti-inflammatory, antioxidant pathway, just doing too much of that in that post-workout time. And then that last one that I mentioned. So, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Robert. Mammoth lifter. I'm on night shifts. Should I train before or after my shift? I do 12-hour shifts and find recovery almost impossible. I worked as a machinist for a while, some physically demanding work, and it's really personal preference. If you find you're missing workouts after your shift because you're too tired, then I would do it before. Sometimes I would find that, knowing I got the lift after a 12-hour shift kind of got me mentally through the last few hours. So it's really hard to say. There's a lot that can be said for getting it done right away when you're fresh and life hasn't dealt you a shit sandwich yet for the day, because every day is a new fresh shit sandwich. So there's something to be said about getting it done before chaos strikes. Any thoughts, Robert?
I would say get it done when you can get it done. Getting it done either before or after is more important than just, not doing anything at all. Recovery, that's going to ultimately come down to how hard you're pushing it in the gym, how much volume you're doing, how intense are those sets? Are you pushing them to failure? How close are you training relative to your 1-rep max? What's your sleep like? What's your other stress levels like? And what's your nutrition like?
When I worked as a
titrate your training dose to accompany your lifestyle factors.
Sorry, Robert. When I worked as a machinist, it was very physically demanding, and I would have to eat a lot more food. So you also want to make sure your food's very consistent as well. Stan, body somatotypes. Should I care about them as a beginner? You should not care about them as a beginner. You should not care about them as an intermediate. You should not care about them as an advanced. You should not care about them as a swimmer. You should not care about them as a ballet dancer. They have no bearing on anything. They're been completely skewed by the lifting community. Any thoughts, Robert?
Agreed. Nothing to add to it.
It's a
snake oil from our boy Vince.
It's a steaming pile of monkey piss, and anybody that pushes it doesn't have a clue what they're talking about.
Yeah, they were developed as part of a psychological profile. It had nothing to do with
it's a button that
muscle.
It's a button that scammers and drive-by con artists use to. It's a button they can push to get people's attention.
Yeah.
Paul Vickers, 20 rep squats are supposed to be mass builders, but also 5 of 10 can also be. Yeah. They're anything over 5 reps of squats, and you'll be probably talking to Jesus after a while, or seeing Jesus, or something. 20-rep squats, I give you credit if you can stick to them. They're extremely difficult to stick to. I think volume and squats in general are a good idea. I prefer that for the average lifter rather than a 3x5. So any thoughts on that, Robert?
I mean, the 20-rep squat sets are called Widowmakers for a reason.
Right.
I would much prefer personally to do 5x10, even if that 5x10 is of Bulgarian split squats or trap bar squats or something, than just do one set of 20-rep squats.
Yeah, I mean, it's better if you're going to do a set of 20-rep squats. Generally, it's more demanding, and you can't really do a lot more in your workout. So
yeah, you'll be wiped. You can go do some curls and kickbacks after that, but shit, fuck all for everything else after that.
Some folks are going to say that they can. I've seen some superhuman people. I had one client that could do 3 sets of 20, but I think he was a freak. Amar, 15 reps and they get bored. I get bored with 15 reps. So, yeah, I don't know. Is glutamine worth taking?
Nope, unless you are severely injured to the point where you've been in a massive car accident, or have, second, third degree burns covering substantial portions of your body. That's where glutamine has been shown to be effective in preventing muscle wasting and enhancing muscle recovery and all of that stuff. It might help shore up some gut health, so you can make an argument for it that way. But as a muscle builder, as a recovery agent, no.
Glutamine might be arguably the biggest barnacle in the supplement industry, meaning that it has attached itself to a whale somehow, and it just can't get detached. I mean, it just continues to hang on and on, even though anybody in the know will tell you don't really need to take it.
Yeah.
Brandon, what's your opinion on super squats for hypertrophy and conditioning? Well, I don't like to do resistance training for conditioning. Resistance training exists to strengthen the body and or build muscle. If you are trying to improve like sports conditioning, then you have to look at your program in a little bit more well-rounded sense. What am I doing for strength training? What am I doing? I'm building muscle to build future strength. And then after that piece of the puzzle is done, what do I do for conditioning? So with that said, it's been a while since I looked at the program. I think it's more minimal in nature. Robert, do you recall any of the specifics? I think I got the book back here, but it's been 10 years since I looked at the program.
No, I just had to pull it up. I mean, the cover doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence. I mean, it says Super Squats, how to gain 30 pounds of muscle in 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that nonsense aside,
Right. Yeah, I mean, I was just pulling up the program. This is looking on the oldschooltrainer.com site. They also preach the GOMAD thing, which is a Riptoian
right
hallmark of stuff. But we got, it said the original routine. Here it is. We got press behind the neck press 3x12, squat 1x20 supersetted with pullovers 1x20. Bench press 3x12, rows 3x15, stiff leg deadlift 1x15, and then a final pullover of 1x20.
I will say that's a lot of compounds, and I will say it will be effective because for 2 reasons. Number one, it moves people from a focus on fuckery to compound movements.
Yeah.
And second, it probably has a defined progression approach. So I would absolutely say it is a program that would give you results.
It would. But for the price of the book, just go and get Steve's Power Muscle Block program. I even bought it off his site when I probably could have just called him up and said, "Hey, Steve, can you email me this PDF?"
Right.
But it's an investment well worth paying.
Or just do a lot of compounds with a progression approach, and you'll get the same effect and add in 20-rep squats.
Yeah.
NAD pad. I understand to lose weight, a calorie deficit is required. However, when cutting and trying to maintain muscle mass, if protein is high enough, do the rest of the carbs and fats matter? Any thoughts, Robert?
As long as the only other quote unquote essential macronutrient is going to be fat. So you want to make sure you're consuming at a bare minimum 0.3 grams per pound of body weight of fat per day, of dietary fat per day. And that's just to preserve joint health, as it helps, lubricate and cushion joints. It's needed for the cell membranes of your, to maintain the integrity of the cellular membranes in your body, cognitive function, hormone production, all that. So you need to get at a bare minimum 0.3 grams per pound of body weight of fat per day. After that, 6 one way, half a dozen the other. And you can easily get 0.3 grams per pound a day. So if you weigh, 100 pounds, that's what, 10.10, 30 grams of fat. So yeah, I mean, you'll get that if you eat 6 eggs.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to under eat fat if you're eating a reasonable diet.
Right.
A protein rich diet. John Martinez, I ran out of BCAAs. Should I switch to EAAs? Should he make Jerry Ward happy or Mark Lobliner happy?
Oh Jesus! I feel like I need to go have a personal timeout to go.
I took us back 2 years.
Curse at the wall.
Jerry Ward or Mark Lobliner?
Fuck, Doc. 6 one way, half a dozen the other.
Scratch those 2 names from the record. We'll go back to BCAAs and EAAs. Should he make the switch?
John, are you consuming enough dietary protein each day? If you are, then neither is useful. If you're consuming them just to maybe have something delicious to drink while you're training instead of water, I would say go with EAAs for the simple fact that BCAAs are already contained in the EAAs, and most EAA supplements cost the exact same as a tub of BCAAs. So why not get more for your money if you're paying for the exact same thing? BCAA supplements, by and large, are going to contain somewhere between 3 to 5 grams of the branched chain amino acids, and usually a 2-to-1 ratio. So you get 2 grams of leucine for every gram of isoleucine and valine. EAAs are also going to have that 5-gram dose of BCAAs, but then it'll also have another gram or 2 of all the 6 other essential amino acids. And your body can only effectively synthesize proteins when it's got all 9 essential amino acids in their requisite quantities and proper ratios and whatnot. So you might as well go with the EAAs. If you're going to be spending $30 on an amino supplement, go for the EAAs. But, going back to the original point, if you're consuming enough protein during the day, then you really don't need one.
Robert, you're doing okay on time. This live is rocking, and we got a bunch of questions in the queue, so I don't want to overextend you.
No, man. So I can still hear Sandy talking on her Zoom calls for teaching, so I'm good till at least 12:30. So whatever
right.
you need.
All right. I understand for losing weight, a calorie deficit is required. Is this the same question? If high protein is enough, or say?
Yeah, we just answered that one. It's the same. It's an ad pad.
Yeah. Okay. It's saying specifically, do macro ratios matter? No. Go ahead.
The one caveat I would say is that what do you respond best to in a cutting phase? Some people function better on higher carbohydrates compared to lower fats. Compared to lower carbohydrates, meaning even though that they're in a calorie deficit, they experience greater satiety and less feelings of hunger eating more carbs each day. Well, the counter is positive, where other people feel better satiety and less hunger on a higher fat, lower carb diet, which will improve adherence. And that's going to be the ultimate governor of whether or not your diet is successful, is if you can adhere to it for a prolonged amount of time. Provided that protein is enough and you're hitting that minimum on fat, go with whichever one, improves your ability to stick to that diet and see it through to fruition the best. One argument for carbs better, it will allow you to train harder, will allow you to recover a little bit better, will make your muscles keep looking fuller while you're dieting. And it also keeps insulin levels a little bit higher as well, which can help stave off some of the catabolic actions, since insulin is anti-catabolic in and of itself. So.
All right. Robert, thoughts on ZMA?
I feel like we answered this one last week.
Yeah.
From KO.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good.
You're going to get that every week, Robert. You're going to get this. Yeah. It's KO, but Cliff Notes.
ZMA, it's good. It's got 1 or 2 studies. It's a patented blend of zinc and magnesium aspartate that was shown to help improve sleep in certain individuals. It's fine. I wouldn't say it's in my top 5 sleep aids. You could just do a bulk magnesium supplement. You could stack it with something. So if ZMA is part of a sleep aid, that's fine. Magnesium and zinc are 2 of the most common mineral deficiencies in humans, especially the exercising population. So we might as well, stack it in with a sleep formula. It's fine. It's safe. It's not going to do any harm.
I think that's the biggest reason to take it, is because magnesium is a deficiency, and you might as well double down while you're at it. So
yeah.
Stephen, for cutting, does a 500 calorie deficit include cardio? What you need to do, I'm gonna set it up like this. Everybody needs to be doing cardio for general health. 3 to 4 times a week, whatever. So if you're doing that, then your calorie deficit is going to be based off what your maintenance level is with that cardio that's you're running right now. If you add both in and you're not previously doing cardio, adding in cardio and then a 500 calorie deficit might be a little bit, I'd hate to say too aggressive, because in my experience as working with people on fat loss, most people struggle and they have ups and downs. But generally, it depends on if you're doing cardio right now or not. Any thoughts, Robert?
I would agree. It's 500 a day for cutting. Yeah, I mean, that's going to give you the 1 pound of fat loss ballpark a week that you'd try to be aiming for if you want to lose that much. I would say it includes it in that. I could say include the added cardio, but I usually typically recommend cardio as something to add in almost to the point of you don't want to cut your calories anymore. That's when I would looking to start doing added cardio above and beyond what you already may be including into your current training routine.
All right, moving on to John. Supplements suggestions for lifters over 40 for recovery. We pretty much covered the recovery earlier. Robert, can you touch on this briefly?
Yeah, L-carnitine L-tartrate, 1 to 2 grams per day post-workout. Tart cherry extract, there's a couple of different ones out there. Nordic cherry is a good one. Or you can just take cherry juice or pomegranate juice. Either one of those works really well for getting rid of some cramps, soreness, muscle damage. What else? Sustamine, which is the L-alanine L-glutamine. Again, 1 to 2 gram dose for that works. Also, maybe tweaking some of your peri-workout nutrition, having a little bit more carbs right after you work out, and a good shot of protein can help with that. And you can also look into maybe some joint health supplements like SNS's Joint Support XT.
All right, thanks, Robert. All right, Adam, any issue with mercury because of eating tuna every day?
There certainly can be. I mean, certain varieties of tuna are very high in mercury, and if you are eating tuna every day, that significantly increases your chance for developing mercury toxicity and mercury poisoning.
The one thing I always say to folks that are eating a lot of tuna is go to Walmart, get like their 60 eggs for $2, and that'll deflate a bit your need to rely so heavily on tuna. I believe if you look at the dollar per gram of protein, that eggs are less expensive. So I would try to rely more on eggs and less on tuna every day.
Yeah, I think, and even certain varieties of tuna are lower mercury than other varieties. So I think it's what the chunk light tuna in water that's packed in water is one of the lowest mercury ones.
Let's see. Harut, any supplements that would help with the natural decline in hormones for the male that is 30 and beyond?
Yes, although I'm really nervous to say this just because I don't want to give the wrong impression that this is going to be akin to taking some kind of designer anabolic. It can help stave off the decline and, alter your hormone profile in a beneficial way by helping mitigate some of the increases in cortisol, which could reduce the increases in testosterone levels. So, again, ashwagandha, L-dopa or mucuna pruriens has been able to have some stuff as far as prolactin in the body. That's another good one. Theanine can help with stress. Sensoril is another one in that KSM family of ashwagandha supplements. Let me pull up. I've got a thing here that I can pull up real quick. Give me 1 second. Maca root powder, or the Lipidomax, is a new version of maca root that came out in the 2 to 3 gram range that's shown to improve vitality, virility, libido, those kind of things. Fenugreek as testofen is another one, but most of these are just very minimal effects on testosterone. Mostly it comes as a result of reducing stress in the body, which is going to give you an indirect boost or a resulting boost in testosterone, and it'll improve feelings of libido, vitality, and vigor. So yes, you'll get a modest bump in it, but it's not going to be something super physiological.
All right, Robert, we have Pierre Giuseppe Morosini. I'm Italian. We have been in quarantine for 2 months. My body are dying, even if I have a home gym. We couldn't go out, and because of university, I work and sit all day. I'm really sorry to hear it. I'm not sure what level of restriction you have. my main thing for you is, I have a lot of folks that are just struggling right now. And don't pressure yourself to try to climb a mountain every day. Get out, try to walk a mile, get out in the fresh air if you can, do push-ups, do planks, just do a couple simple things just to keep your body active.
Yep.
All right, Pierre Bulford, I'm trying to buy your book, Massive Strength, but it's sold out. It is sold out because when I started Massive Strength, I did not realize what I was getting myself into. And right now, I have decided to put out over a 600,000 word library. And I've been wanting to do this for a while. It's everything, my complete philosophies, everything I believe on everything. This is my life's work. So I've expanded Massive Strength into Massive Everything. And I'm working diligently behind the scenes to complete it. To frame that, 600,000 words is going to be probably equivalent of 8 to 9 full-length books. So everything I've ever said, thought, all my programs are going to be in this. People can still pre-order the entire Massive series, which is like 17 books, but they can get it at superlivingtoday.com. But it's going to be at least 6 months before all of the books are out. I'm going to release them one by one. So if you pre-order, understand that you're going to have to wait a while for all of them to come out. With that said, the books are going to be coming out. You're going to save a lot of money if you buy them all in one package. Dexter says, "What's up, Pierre Bullfit?" Let's see. Dex says, "I love your channel." They're having some bro interaction going on here between Dex and Pierre Bullfit. Sorry about my grammatical mistakes. No problem at all. No problem. Robert, thoughts on yerba? How do you say it? Mate?
Yeah, yerba mate. It's typically regarded as kind of like the love child of caffeine and tea. So you get it's got a higher content. Yerba mate has a higher caffeine content than tea. So it makes it more energizing, but the benefit is that yerba mate also has the higher theanine count, which isn't present in coffee, and it is in tea, and that's that calming amino acid that helps kind of give you that smooth, jitter-free energy. So you get the increased stimulation with the GABA modulating properties of theanine, so you get this sustained, smooth energy. I like coffee, and I don't have any issues with drinking coffee or feeling anxious, on edge, or any of that. Most of the energizing effects of yerba mate are due to the same things that you're going to find in coffee, and to a lesser extent tea. So you got caffeine, theobromine, and theophylline. Those are three methylxanthines that stimulate the central nervous system and get you feeling upbeat, happy, flood. They block adenosine from binding. It boosts dopamine. I just like to drink coffee or tea more. I've never had a ton of yerba mate, and it's probably more expensive, I would assume, on a gram per gram basis than either coffee or tea. But if it's cheap and accessible to you, give it a shot.
Yeah, one thing I'll add is one thing my grandfather always said is that, Steve, chicks dig yerba mate. All right, Ben on Adventures. Hey, Kevin, hope all is well. All right, you guys just doing some general chat. No problem with that. Would you list? We went over that one. What's going on, James? What do we got here? Getting through the love fest we got. Brandon, I always feel tired and slow if I weigh close to 200, but feel great at 180, 185. Do you think that your body prefers a weight? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Lighter generally feels better. The body has more mass to maintain. The heart has more mass to maintain. Your hormonal system, all the systems in the body have a greater stressor. So that is absolutely not unusual. Any thoughts, Robert?
Yeah, I would agree. The body has a natural settling point. Can you alter that over the years? Possibly so. But I mean, you're gonna hit a spot where it just physically it's uncomfortable to move past that. So yeah, I think that's definitely a thing.
Should you stop bulking? Well, one thing I will say is if you want muscle mass and you want to be at 180, 185, it's not a question of should you stop bulking. It's if you're too fat right now, you might want to drop off 10, 15 pounds and then do a slow bulk over the next year where you're adding like a 1 pound per month and continuing to build muscle. So you can kind of maybe accordion up to 190, 192, drop 15 pounds of fat, accordion back up to that. And after doing that several times, if you're crushing the iron appropriately, then you should end up at the end of the road, 185, looking like a lean, mean machine. Nigel, sat my phone against one of the rack posts to listen and watch while doing seated overhead presses. Thanks for tuning in, Nigel. Paul, positive effects of vitamin C and oranges.
Yes, vitamin C is very good. It's a very powerful antioxidant in the body, serves a wide range of benefits, involved in the synthesis of collagen and a couple of other good things, neurotransmitters too. Get it. It's a water-soluble vitamin. It's essential. You need it. Your body does not store it readily, so you need to get some every day.
I think the bigger question is, what if you don't get it in every day? I think the health ramifications of that are the biggest issue. All right, Pedro, does supplementing vitamin C we got back-to-back vitamin C questions. Supplementing vitamin C have negative effects on muscle adaptations post-exercise? I've seen a big study on this.
They did release a recent meta showing vitamin C and E supplementation. Both of those are very powerful antioxidants that they can have a minor negative effect on training adaptations. There's an excellent, I cannot stress how phenomenal this article is. Go over to the Stronger by Science website. Dr. Eric Trexel, I've had him on the website. He's done a ton of research into nitric oxide production, boosters, all that stuff, and specifically how some of these antioxidants affect nitric oxide in the body. Did a comprehensive review, delved into this exact study that you're referencing, and came out the backside, because that's one of the myths, or one of the beliefs that we've heard, is that antioxidants, and I've said this a couple of times, and I've thought this for a large degree too, and reading through this article has made me kind of change my position on it, is that antioxidants can blunt some of the adaptations, but at the same time, in older populations, they've actually been shown to improve recovery and improve training adaptations. And the negative effect on them is not actually as severe as it's made out to be. Still, again, I'm not going to be mega dosing antioxidants around my training because I want to maximize everything that I can from my time spent in the gym. But small doses of vitamin C, something like the 250 milligram range, have actually been shown to increase nitric oxide production. That's why you'll see them in a lot of stim-free pump formulas, especially when they're used alongside nitrates, since they also help prevent nitrate tolerance. So yeah, you can keep some around the exercise window. Just keep it on the low side. Don't go overboard, especially with the synthetic kinds like megadosing, just bulk ascorbic acid, or the tocopherols, and found in vitamin E right before or right after training.
All right, Alberto, I'm 250 and want to get bigger. If you're 250, I'm going to touch on this briefly. You need to lose some weight, because that's borderline unhealthy weight for longevity. Men that are 250 and over, if you look at longevity statistics, they lose approximately 7 to 10 years off their life. Obviously, this can vary depending on genetics and physical condition, but on average, you are in a hole. So if you are 250, drop some weight and then worry about building muscle first. So I would at least drop 30 pounds and then maybe try to climb back up. But I would generally don't advocate going over 235 to 240 for longevity issues or reasons. Do you recommend using resistance bands at home, Robert? We talked about this previously.
Yeah.
Not the best tool in the toolbox.
Correct. It's a good adjunct to complement things. So if you want to do some cable crossover, band crossover, some band flies after you do some push-ups or dips or something to kind of really burn out the muscle and work on some of that horizontal adduction that the pecs are involved in, it's great. Part of the issue with resistance band is that their max point of tension on certain exercises is going to make the exercise that much harder. So case in point, rows. You're weakest when your arm is, going back behind your body and you get your elbow behind your torso. And that's at the point when the resistance band is at its max tension. So you've gotten basically nothing at the bottom, or when your arm's fully outstretched. And then by the time you get it back, you're going to have to either use 2 different resistance bands or try to play with different ranges of motion or something like that. or maybe do something like an overloading negative, to where you take both hands to get the band all the way behind your back, and then you just let go with one hand and then slowly reduce it back that way. So as a primary means for gaining muscle and strength, no, it's I like it as an adjunct to things, possibly.
All right, we're nearing the end, Robert. Stan, powerlifting at 5 a.m. straight from bed. Must get it done before kids wake up. Have a good weekend. Should I eat before starting or just coffee? When I would get up in the morning, it's really personal preference.
Yeah.
If it's straight from the bed to the gym, I would not eat anything. Your body will adapt. Just give it a little bit. If you have a little bit, sometimes I would do a half a banana in a protein shake just to get something in my stomach. So it's really personal preference. Robert, is there any science that you know of or any benefit from eating versus fasting training in the morning?
I mean, the only thing I would say is that it's going to increase blood glucose levels and could help stave off some central fatigue that could develop, so you have some of the nutrients in your body and prevent any potential muscle breakdown. You've got those amino acids just flowing through your body already. Whey and bananas are both rapidly digesting, so they'll be, within an hour or so, they'll start to be being seen in the bloodstream when they can be put to use.
One thing I learned from endurance running is that if I would get up, like we would do a lot of longer runs on Saturday, if I would get up and eat a heavier meal, not a super heavy meal, but say 2 eggs, 2 slices of bacon or whatever, I would feel worse than if I would just get up and eat a Krispy Kreme donut. Just simple carb, nothing heavy. I would run like a rabbit for like an hour and a half, and then I'd have to adjust my nutrition afterwards. So some of this is just personal.
Well, yeah, the fats and the protein like that, especially in those sources, are going to make it slower digesting. So it's still hanging out in your stomach while you're trying to chug along instead of it being in your bloodstream circling around and getting put to use.
Paul Vickers, dog crap training worth doing or better doing high volume for muscle mass? Dog crap got a lot of play. I have a video about this. I encourage you to check it out. I made a program of my own called Massive Crap, and it's funny, but hey, I'm Massive Iron, and it's my dog crap variation. Yep. I don't like dog crap for a number of reasons. Training to failure. It does have rest pause. It has some good things, right? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do it to training to failure. So check out my modification at my website, superlivingtoday.com, called Massive Crap. It is only $1.99, or you can watch the video for free. Dexter, why aren't you seeing my messages? We did, Dex. I flashed them on the screen briefly. You guys were having kind of a conversation amongst yourself, and we were just moving on so we could handle all the questions we have. Almost at the end, Robert. KO Surge, how many grams of creatine a day? 5. All right. Thanks for answering my questions. I'm listening. The Cincinnati Nature Center. Me and my wife ran there about a month ago. Any thoughts on hydrolyzed collagen peptide supplements?
Yeah, I think they can be helpful for improving skin elasticity, the structure, function, aesthetics of your hair, skin, and nails. There's some research showing that they may improve joint function, range of motion, help reduce some of the pain that's associated with osteoarthritis, since collagen is a primary structural protein involved in all the little structures that attach to joints and connect bones to joints and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a slight effect, a marginal effect, but there is some utility for collagen peptides in regards to either working on your external features, so hair, skin, nails, or your internal structures like your joints, since collagen synthesis starts to decline fairly significantly after age 30, 35.
All right, Robert, this is the last question. And if we missed anybody's questions, head over to Instagram at Ben the Barman, or you can message Robert specifically. And Shawshank said, my question don't seem to appear on screen. If your questions aren't appearing on screen, YouTube is very glitchy. It's not us. I do not skip over any question. YouTube is very glitchy. With that said, his question right before this is the bioavailability of protein from vegetarian sources such as chickpeas, lentils low. Like if we eat 150 calculated grams of protein, is it really 150 grams that is getting processed?
Plant proteins, by and large, are all incomplete proteins, which means they are missing one or more of the key essential amino acids your body needs to successfully synthesize proteins in the body. That being said, if you combine multiple protein sources together, you can build a more robust amino acid profile. That's why a lot of the plant-based protein powders out there combine things like brown rice protein with lentils or chickpea protein, some of the other, and any other kind of legume or pea protein, soy protein, all of these, because each of these is missing one or the other. And so by stacking a few of these together, we can complete a more comprehensive profile. The issue is that plant proteins, by and large, do have low bioavailabilities. There are some of these factors in there that impair the absorption and don't make them as robust stimulators of protein synthesis in the body as animal-derived sources. There's a study that came out, I want to say September, October of 2019. I've got a full article breaking it down on the supplementengineer.com website, where the researchers took regular whey protein and then conducted 3 other blends, plant-based protein blends, and they mashed them up to mimic the identical protein content, essential amino acid profile, and leucine content. They made those 3 blends identical to whey. And when they compared them, they had the subjects try them. The whey protein still outperformed the other blends. So there's something else in plants. The researchers didn't exactly know what it was. They hypothesized it was some of the anti-nutrients that are naturally occurring in plant foods. But something is preventing plant proteins from as effectively stimulating as animal-based proteins are. So yeah, you're going to have to consume a higher proportion of plant proteins to get an equivalent amount of animal proteins.
All right, Robert. We got a woo to set us free. That's the end of it, Robert. We just hit the 2-hour mark. I sincerely appreciate you joining me. I'm thankful for everybody that took the time to answer questions. And, if we missed your question, please head over to Instagram. You can find Robert at the Supplement Engineer. All right, Robert. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of the weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Steve. Y'all have a good one, too.
Yep. Bye now.